Hey everybody, welcome to Life in Hell. It's me, Brother Wild Bill, coming to you from inside the most dangerous prison in the Western Hemisphere. I was arrested and convicted of homicide, actually 5 of them, and sentenced to 46 years in prison. I've been in prison for 13 years here in Central America. I'm an American, and I'm in a Panamanian prison, and it's the worst and most violent prison in Central America, one of the worst in the Western Hemisphere. This is my audio diary and motivational channel called Life Inside Hell, and that's my life. I'm inside hell. It's my diary, audio diary as well. But today we're going to talk about, well, it's a controversial topic called fuck democracy. And so, like, people say, well, oh, that's just like, sacrilegious to say that. But I wanted to talk about why democracy is not a good form of government. It's not the worst form of government. It really isn't. But it's certainly not the best. And democracy always begins as a band-aid or a half measure or a temporary fix to some sort of tyranny. Like the American democracy began as a band-aid for taxation without representation, meaning they were, dictatorial epics come down from England in which the Americans rebelled and wanted a different system. The democracy system always leads to demagoguery. What is that? Well, it's like, how could an idiot, let's think about it for a second, and I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I think Democrats and Republicans are both morons, and we'll get later to that later. So don't take me bashing Donald Trump as a sign of me, being on the Democratic side either, because I think they're both just worthless. But let's take Donald Trump as an example. A lot of people think Donald Trump was the second coming of Christ, but Donald Trump really was just a demagogue. And what is a demagogue? It's a person who knows how to work the system, who might be physically attractive. Donald Trump isn't that physically attractive, but he is very attractive. He was a reality TV star. He knows how to work the minds and hearts of mindless viewers, 300 million mindless viewers, and he knows what to say. He knows what you want to hear. His Great Wall of Mexico, he never built that, and he blamed somebody else for it. There's a lot of things that Donald Trump promised he never did. He promised what people wanted to hear, and so I'm not a Donald Trump fan. I'm certainly not a Joe Biden fan either. Old bumbling Joe, old Pappy that's got Alzheimer's up there in the White House. Republicans, a two-party system is a system guaranteed to go nowhere. Any two-party democracy is a system that is designed to be completely forever stuck in the mud. A system of a tyrannical leader often leads to democracy. So what happens is people get sick of being given orders that don't make sense by a leader who is a hypocrite, who doesn't follow his own ideology, and then they turn to democracy as like a cure, supposed. But it's really, like I said earlier, it's a band-aid for tyrannical problems. It's a half measure. And I wanted to ask you, people say, well, the people get to choose. The people get to choose their future. Since when do 300 million knuckle-dragging average idiots know what's best for them? If you go to somebody and you say to a child, let's say you go to a child and you say to a child, you're sick, you need a doctor, but we can go see the doctor and he's going to give you a painful injection that will cure you, or we can go to the candy shop and he'll give you some candy. What do you want to do? The child will say, I want to go to the candy shop, even though he's sick and he needs to see the doctor. That's democracy. People don't know what the hell's good for them. They choose what they think is best for them, but what the hell do they know? They've never tried to govern or anything like that. So they elect some asshole that doesn't care about anybody but himself, and then he botches the job. That's democracy. It's exactly how it works. Again, democracy of everybody having a vote is against natural law, the hierarchy system that we evolved with as a human race. For instance, 10,000 years ago, we were basically living in caves, and the one that ran the show was the one that could protect everybody and provide for everybody. And that's who should be running the show today as well, the person who can protect and provide for everybody. But that isn't who runs the show. It's he who has the best hair, he who speaks the best. Like John F. Kennedy was the first person to use makeup I remember seeing that, and he ran against Nixon, and he used makeup, and Nixon was so pissed off because Kennedy was using like Hollywood shit. Instead of the debate was no longer about what was good or what was bad. It was who looked prettiest, and Nixon was an ugly fucker, and Kennedy was pretty, and that's why he won. So, really interesting system. Give me just a second here. No, no, no. Sorry about that. Got interrupted by somebody. So, so it's against the natural hierarchy of systems as well, because 10,000 years ago, we were all sitting around in caves, and the person who ruled us was the strongest and the one who could provide the best for us. Today, the one who leads us is the one who knows how to work the system best, and the system is definitely broken. I said that democracy is not the best or the worst system. It's not. One of the worst systems is socialism. Socialism is democracy's retarded older brother, you know, or younger brother. Socialism, communism, whatever, the same shit, is democracy's retarded younger brother, because democracy at least doesn't propagate weakness. Socialism actually propagates weakness. Actually, socialism takes away from those who are productive and gives to those who are unproductive. That shouldn't be the case, and we should be like, democracy is just kind of a free-for-all, you know, everybody going doing their own thing, which is a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea, and it won't work. I mean, look at the American system. America's the most polarized it's been since its inception. In today's society, the Republican and the Democratic two-party system has America so polarized, more polarized than it was before the Civil War, you know, when the North and the South broke and began to fight one another. So America, a house divided isn't going anywhere. The Chinese and the Russians understand these principles, and the Russian quote-unquote democracy is a dictatorship, and an extremely successful dictatorship. Vladimir Putin is the most intelligent politician on the world today. That's not to say he doesn't make mistakes from time to time, but he's if you look at his approval rating at home, he has this overwhelming approval rating, and like the West wants to show pictures of these people protesting and shit, but yet Putin has an 80% approval rating. An 80% there's never fucking been an American president that had an 80% approval rating. So people are happy with their dictatorship there, and the Chinese are in supposedly a communist system, which is certainly not. It's more like it's almost like a capitalist dictatorship is what China is. But the point is that both China and Russia are everybody in the country, for the most part, at least the vast majority of people, are pulling in the same direction. You don't have that in America. You have people fighting each other and worrying about pronouns, like, you know, and people saying that they identify as a fish now, and I have a penis but I'm a woman, and you know, just madness. I mean, absolute and total garbage madness. We've gone insane, and all these things are against natural law. Anytime that you go against natural law, the evolutionary natural law, you're sooner or later, nature will give you a correction. In the United States of America, there is a correction coming. In England, in the European Union, there is a correction coming. In Australia, there is a correction coming. And it looks Chinese and looks Russian. They are going to overtake us, because we spend time fighting amongst ourselves, and they are not doing that. They are very united. And don't you ever think for a second that the Chinese and the Russians are stupid. They're very intelligent races of people, extremely, and they're all pulling in the same direction. While we're in a boat, and some are rowing forward and some are rowing backwards. We're just going round and round and round and round and round. While the Chinese and the Russians are all pulling together and catching up on us. They're catching up on us, you know. So I talked about the best and worst. The best type of dictatorship, the best type of government, and the worst type of government is a dictatorship. Both. The answer is both. Why? Because the dictatorship or the monarchy, a good king or a good dictator who loves his people, is extremely efficient and good. Someone who's in tune with the needs of their people and does what has to be done. Why? Because there's very little bureaucracy, very little red tape, so to speak. You know, the man speaks and it's law, so he can get shit done that way. And then the worst type of government on earth, next to communism or socialism, also is a bad dictatorship, a dictator that's a bullshit idiot, that's a fool, a buffoon. That also is a terrible type of government because you have somebody that doesn't understand the needs of the people or how to govern them. That often happens. And so we shouldn't shy away from monarchies and dictatorships if they're run by people who love their own people. Look at the Saudis. The Saudi kingdom has an excellent record of meeting the needs of their people. And we say, well, women in Saudi Arabia are treated like shit. They're actually not treated like shit. And if you ask the women are really happy. That's the thing. The women are happy. We say they have to be like our women. You know, and women here want to, quote unquote, liberate them. And the women there are like, shut the fuck up and leave us alone. You know? So if they're happy, and that's what, I mean, our system, the Saudi Arabian system obviously would not work here. Would not work here on this side. But our system won't work for the Saudi Arabians either. And that's what the Americans don't understand. They go around trying to sow democracy in Syria, Iraq, and they just destabilize these, Libya, and they destabilize these countries and they turn into a bloodbath, you know. And we don't understand why because they're not like us. They don't want democracy. They understand that strength is what leads. Strength and honesty is what leads, and not demagoguery. They don't want that shit. So this is fuck democracy. I don't believe in democracy. I think democracy is a terrible way to, you know, a government. It starts off with good intentions and always ends in collapse. And like all of the other countries in the history of the world that have tried democracy, they end in dictatorship. Greece ended in the Grecian dictatorship. The Grecian democracy ended in the dictatorship of Alexander the Great and his father before him, and then the Roman democracy ended in Julius Caesar in the system of emperors, which was also a dictatorship. And so all democracy starts with good intentions, collapses at the end, and leads to dictatorship. So if you've enjoyed this and you found it educational at all, pull the description box down. You can read more about who I am. There's a Wikipedia link there. If you want to contact me directly, you can find those contacts in Instagram and Facebook. You can find them there. Also, you can find a link to a book that I wrote.